If you're looking into starting an e-commerce or online store this year, I'm totally happy for you. That is awesome. But let me just be that guy who kind of puts the pause on that for a second and lets you get some insight into kind of what it takes and what to expect from it before you dive right in. If you don't know me, guys, go ahead and subscribe and like this video. I strive to be your #1 help during this whole online business journey. So go ahead and subscribe for more videos, even if this one doesn't directly apply to you. I'd still absolutely love to help you in the future. All right, so first things first, just remember that when you're starting out, there's tons of optimism at first. All right, so first things first, let's just remember this one thing. And if you've already had other business adventures in the past, you totally know this already. So I might be preaching to the choir a little bit here. When you first start off, there's tons of optimism at first. I know the feeling. It's like super exciting. You just want to dive right in. Then you get to this point, it could be a week in, it could be a month in, where things don't exactly go your way and maybe there's not as many customers, it costs more than you wanted to, something doesn't exactly go your way, and it's not the whole instant gratification world like we like right now. So let me just kind of lay that out there and let you think about that and soak that in. So just to get your mental gears kind of prepped for that, it's a tough pill to swallow, but you're gonna have all this optimism at first, and then a little bit while in, you're gonna go, oh, this is tougher than I thought. You might be kind of struggling a little bit with some things, but it's that 1%. You know, it goes back to that 1% rule. A lot of people aren't able to do it. And if you haven't heard this quote before, excuses sound best to the people who make them. I try to live by that as much as I can, and it definitely applies to this as well. So try not to make excuses and just push right through things. You're gonna have challenges and all sorts of stuff that you have to push through, just like any other business. All right, so who's gonna be doing this with you? Is it going to be your wife, your husband, your family, your friends, your coworker? If you're collaborating with somebody, this is totally cool. I am all for that. But just make sure that you don't kind of do this willy-nilly. If you're splitting profit and stuff, or you're putting profit back into it, make sure you guys have an agreement, a concrete agreement on what the plan is. Something typed up. It doesn't need to be like notarized or something, but I would highly suggest at least getting something in writing that you both agree to no matter what. A lot of times people become kind of greedy, or there's some sort of mix-up, and it just kind of gets ugly between these things. So I would definitely hate for you to lose friends or have fights with family because of stuff like this. So thankfully, for the most part, everything's worked just fine with me and my wife. We've definitely had a couple different opinions on things, but other than that, I think we're doing great. So just make sure you kind of understand your roles and who's in control of what, and kind of what you can expect for the deal. Now, if you're offering a digital product, I'm not going to be going into this too much today, but I'll have a separate video for that in the future. I'm going to be focusing mostly on the physical stuff today. So if you have a physical product that you're going to be selling, you have to think about what that is. And I know it's kind of tough, and I'm sure that you probably already have something in mind. And if you don't, that's totally okay. It'll come to you. But I do want to say you have to kind of plan for this. So what kind of product is this going to be? Is it something that you're going to drop ship? Is it something that you are going to warehouse and make yourself? Or is it going to be something that you make and you fulfill yourself? All these questions are something that you have to really think about, because if you're making it yourself, are you going to have like a little tiny table that you do this on? Are you going to have an office? Or are you going to need some sort of warehouse with staff? I mean, I'm sure these are all things that you are kind of already considering, but just to make sure that you kind of understand the scale of work here, sometimes people really can cook up a cool idea in their head and they don't realize how much space or how much you really need to do. So if you're doing everything yourself, you're making the product, you're fulfilling it, and you're storing it and all that, that gives you the most power over everything. So that's awesome. However, you do have to think about the time that you're going to take with that. So is that time, that exchange of time, really worth it for you? Now, if you're having it locally sourced, let's say, oh, the fabric shop down the street, or this one store I know down the street, or something like that, this printing shop. And if they're helping you out with stuff, you really need to talk with them and make sure that they're able to fulfill your needs. Kind of lay an expectation down of what they might be able to produce for you on, let's say, a weekly basis or a daily basis. So you need to think about those sorts of things. And you also need to factor in cost. Cost is a big one. So if they pack it for you, are you going to be paying more for them to pack it for you? Because sometimes they're ridiculous rates. Sometimes they're going to be like, oh, we're going to package and ship it for you for $6, even though the shipping rate is only $3. So it doesn't really make sense to do that, in my opinion. I would just get them in bulk and then pick them and ship them myself, as long as I had the space to do it. So these are a few things that you can definitely consider if you're looking to have it locally sourced or at your own house or warehouse. Another really cool option that some people choose to do is having a bulk inventory, but then putting that responsibility on something similar to a Amazon FBA. There's a couple different options out here that I've heard of. One is called 3PL, and then there's another one called ShipBob, and I do know a few other ones as well. But if you're interested in those, let me know. But this is a good option if you're looking for a low-cost shipping way to get your inventory out and moved out quickly, as long as you have scaled up and you're at that point. So maybe come up with a good plan to kind of transition between these. Maybe you're going to start at your house or your warehouse, and then if your little shop or whatever gets too big or too crowded, go ahead and bulk order these or bulk create these products and then bring them into some sort of warehouse or like a service like 3PL or ShipBob that can really move a lot of that inventory very quickly for you to get those orders out as quickly as possible. All right, so the last one I'm going to cover is dropshipping. If you're dropshipping, where are you going to dropship from? Is it China, or is it in the US, or is it from Europe? You have to really think of all these things and then really compare them. You have to make sure that your supplier is trustworthy. So a good way that I kind of know if my supplier is trustworthy or not is by giving them a question that I already know the answer to, such as what is the current shipping time from Express or something like that. So I'll ask them something like that I already know the answer to, because then I can really see if they're being honest with me and honest and upfront. If they're not honest and upfront with me, I will be very hesitant to ask them to be one of our suppliers. The reason for this is because if they're showing signs of not being honest with you at your first interaction, there's a good chance that later on they're definitely not going to be honest with you and they're going to make mistakes and you're going to have unhappy customers. So definitely just be very cautious with your suppliers, especially if they're overseas, because they work on a very transactional basis. So this kind of creates them to be less than honest sometimes. And it's just kind of the nature of the business. But if you're smart about it, you can really find ways to communicate clearly with them and make sure they're a good fit for your company and your brand. Another option I would definitely look into, if you are looking for a dropshipping supplier, definitely check with them to see what their prices are like. I'm telling you, don't always just pick the cheapest option. Usually the cheapest option means they're making cuts somewhere, so it's not always the best thing. Sometimes these cuts could be staffing, sometimes these cuts could be packaging, it could be anything. I'm just telling you, be very cautious if you're looking to just get the cheapest one. That's definitely one thing I would just keep in mind. The last option you can always look into is getting an agent if you are dropshipping. So this is kind of what we do. We have an agent. We also have some warehouses that are in the US that we also kind of ship stuff from, so it's kind of a hybrid between stuff. So a lot of times you can order a bunch of your inventory ahead of time. You can bulk order your inventory. So the downside of this is that you have to purchase your products up front, but then after that you have a lot more control over it. You can definitely create your own brand out of it a little bit more. You can get your stuff sewn on, or you can get your stuff stamped, whatever it is. You have a little bit more control over everything, and they really do work with you. And their sole role is to make sure that your orders get sent out as soon as possible and get sent out accurately, and they usually do a really good job with that. At least mine does. So if you're really interested in having a good agent, I can let you know mine, and feel free to reach out about that. I'd love to help. Anyways, guys, that is just kind of a few things I wanted to talk about when you're looking into starting your online business or your e-commerce store, whether it's drop shipping or making and creating your own products. And then shipping them out. I just wanted to talk about scaling and a couple things like that. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I hope you learned something. I really do. I'm going to be coming out with more and more content like this. So go ahead and push the subscribe button and put the notification bell on so you don't miss anything. And other than that, guys, have a great day. Bye.